year is 1979, and a 33-year-old young entrepreneur by the name of Robert Johnson decides to take a risk. He wants to create something that's never been done before. He wants to create Black Entertainment Television, also known as BET. The network launched in 1980, but Rob Johnson has a dream. The dream is to get Black entertainment into households all over the country by the mechanism of cable television. And he does so in a very successful way. By seeing a hole in the market, Bob Johnson starts a few shows that we all know and love. Remember BET Video Soul with Donnie Simpson?
How you doing? Welcome to the Video Soul Top 20. I'm Donnie Simpson with the 20 hottest videos for you for the first week of February 1987.
From there, we would get other shows like BET in the Basement with Big Tigger. We would also get the legendary 106 in Park. But we would also get shows dedicated towards the African American communities, because a lot of our artists and entertainers were getting slighted at the Oscars and Emmys and Grammys awards. So from BET came the BET Awards. But he had another person that influenced him, the legendary John Johnson. And John Johnson started Ebony Magazine. This came out before BET. And John Johnson decided to talk about why Black people needed to start these things for ourselves.
In the white corporate world as we know it today, there is a ceiling on how far Blacks can go. There are rare exceptions, but by and large, the vice presidency is as far as you can go. Now, there are some of us who are not just temperamentally suited to be only vice presidents. We want to be presidents. We want to run things. We want to be in charge. For those people, I say, you've got to go out and start your own. And so I believe for people who are satisfied to be a vice president, perhaps in the long run, for people who want to work for someone else and to live under the fear now of mergers and buyouts, all of which jeopardize their security. If they want to live that way, fine. But if they really want to have a degree of security, a degree of fulfillment, if they want to make a contribution to the race as a whole, then I think they need to go out and start their own.
Both John Johnson and Bob Johnson filled holes in the African American community that created a lot of opportunity for a lot of people. And again, this was because we were getting slighted in the market. And we still thank them to this day for all of their contributions. But then there's Fat Joe, a guy who's not from the Black community, but he's associated to the Black community. He kind of grifted off the Black community. And he made a lot of people mad once he said this.
Don't want to hear Guyanese, they don't want to hear a Black guy that ain't down with them.
Right.
Right? So their job is to criticize anybody who don't look like them or who ain't Black American.
Who are these guys?
You want me to say a name? We're going to give them too much clout.
I mean,
the FBA, Foundational Black Authority, whoever the these broke is. I'm just keeping it a buck.
Now, obviously, this pissed a lot of people off. It got Fat Joe in a lot of trouble. It got Math Hoffa in a lot of trouble. And Math Hoffa, who orchestrated this podcast interview, actually pulled the video down, and people were upset all across Black social media. And then Billboard decided to interview Fat Joe. Now, once they were introducing him as the current host of the BET Awards, Fat Joe said something very alarming.
I resigned as host of the BET Hip Hop Awards because, it's real. 2 Chainz said I've been monopolizing, so he said, yo, let me host. I know I could be a good host. I said, you know what, my brother? You could be the host next year.
You passed the torch officially?
Yeah, the 2 Chainz. I mean, BT don't know that. You know, but, sidebar with 2 Chainz. Yeah. He was like, yo, I really want to do that. I was like, no question.
All of a sudden, Fat Joe is going to give up the BET Awards to 2 Chainz? That's interesting. All of a sudden, Fat Joe doesn't want to be in the BET Awards. He wants to somehow pass the torch after calling #FBA broke dudes. But a lot of other brothers had a lot to say about this.
Even a percentage of Black America that didn't like it is going to be overwhelming.
even 5%. You see what I'm saying? Even 5%, even 10%. Even 10%. Of Black America. If you if you rub them the wrong way, you're in trouble. You can't face that many numbers against you.
Shout out to Sarasu and Seti. He makes a very good point. It's a lot of pressure to be out in front of African Americans, a show or a network started by African Americans, the BET Awards, and then you have this guy who's a Latino calling hashtag FBA's broke when the whole network was started for those people. You're really an outsider hosting the BET Awards. But then there were others.
But yeah, Fat Joe just did an interview saying that he's not going to do the BET Awards this year. Yeah, we know what that's about. Family, people, the tethers were trying to say, well, you talk that FBA, that's just online. Oh, really? There's 43 million plus foundational Black Americans. And many of those 43 million are on code, and that's the last thing they want.
You see, guys, let's say, for example, if there was the Puerto Rican Awards or the Latino Awards or anything that started for Latinos. One thing about them is it doesn't even matter if you're a Black person and you speak Spanish. You're not hosting those awards for anybody. See, for Fat Joe, until he said this, Black people were not even really tripping that Fat Joe was the host of the BET Awards. Because it's like, okay, well, bro, you've been kind of down with us, so we can look at you as one of us, right? Wrong. A lot of people will be around you as long as they can use you for whatever you have. And I noticed that even during my time living in Africa. You see, we have our own little diaspora communities out here. It's not really big or strong like it is in Ghana, but we do have them. And sometimes we get people that want to join into the mix, basically trying to see what resources that we may have. But at the same time, when it comes to their community, they make sure to keep you out of those resources. They don't tell you about opportunities. They don't tell you about different things. In fact, there's evidence that not all, but some of those people could basically talk about you behind your back and insult you while at the same time benefiting off of the hard work and effort that your community can provide to them. This is no different than Fat Joe. You see, he really don't like Black people all like that, but he loves benefiting off of Black people, and he loves to grift, take and never give. But now, since he's been called out for being a hater, he can't come around us no more. He wants to act like it's all good and he's just passing the torch. But really, Fat Joe understands he's in a lot of trouble. And if he pulls up to the BET Awards, what he said, somebody's going to check him. And he don't want those problems. And you know what? That's how we should be. Like, for an example, we need to keep our things for us. Every other group keeps their things for them. It don't mean that you're racist or you're a hater. Like I said, I'm in Uganda, and there are certain things that Ugandans will keep for themselves that I cannot access, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there are certain things that we should have that we want to benefit for our group because that's what our group fought for. I'm not trying to diss anybody, the Puerto Rican community or any other community, but Bob Johnson didn't start the Latino entertainment television series. It wasn't called LET. He didn't start the PET, the Puerto Rican Entertainment Television. He started BET. And the BET Awards were for the people he started the damn channel for, which was Blacks, okay? Now that Black can even include those coming from Africa and the diaspora, because we've seen a lot of people from the Nigerian sector and Burna Boy and Afro Beats and Eddie Kenzos get awards, and that's fine. But it damn sure wasn't for the Latino Awards, because the Latinos, they have televisions and shows and networks, and you want to know who they never invite to those things? Us. So if he feels that Puerto Ricans contributed to hip hop, then here's what he needs to do. You need to go to the Puerto Rican Entertainment Television show, start your own awards, so y'all can go ahead on and put each other on like the Blacks did. But it's easier said than done. because it's so easy to come over there with the Black Americans or hashtag FBA and get on and grift and take for yourself and then hate on the people that's giving you somewhat of an opportunity. That's just like me coming over to Uganda or Nigeria or whatever, and I'm getting on in the Afrobeat sector, and then I get mad and talk about them when they have already built up their music industry. You know what they'll do to me? They'll get my ass up out of there real quick, which is what they should do. And Fat Joe just got humbled severely. He learned a very, very vital lesson. Never bite the hand that's been feeding you. Well, guys, what do you think? It's your boy, Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. I appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe, hit the bell. We're out.